It's so crazy to me because I'm asked so many times if I'm resentful in any type of way for where the WNBA is right now.
Candace Parker has voiced what many fans of Caitlin Clark have been saying all season, something the WNBA's veteran players didn't want to acknowledge. It's also a message the league, including the commissioner, really needs to pay attention to. People hoped the new season would bring a more positive and fair attitude toward Caitlin and her supporters, but instead, things seem to have worsened. The jealousy has become more noticeable, the resentment stronger, and the double standards more obvious than ever. Now, Candace Parker, a respected figure in the WNBA, has stepped in and challenged that narrative. Her comments are straightforward and grounded in common sense, cutting through the noise and putting the situation into perspective. Perhaps this will finally make others stop and reflect. If this season has made anything clear, it's that as Caitlin continues to succeed, the reaction from parts of the league has become louder and, at times, counterproductive. So what exactly did Candace say, and why is it important? It may be one of the most composed yet impactful responses to critics of Caitlin Clark and the league's old guard.
Out of women's basketball, for a horrible team when she arrived, outside of LeBron and Steph, she is the most well-known basketball player currently playing in the United States.
Yes. And I don't think that's close.
The WNBA is currently seeing massive growth, and much of it is being credited to Caitlin Clark. It's hardly a secret anymore. Her impact on the sport has been impossible to ignore. She isn't just considered the most popular player in WNBA history. Many believe she may be the most popular athlete in the United States right now. The data from last season supports this claim, with huge increases in TV ratings, ticket demand, and merchandise sales. Every major indicator pointed to the same conclusion. Caitlin Clark has an unmatched ability to draw attention and audiences. And this season, that influence is only growing. Games are selling out, viewership records are being broken, and the so-called Caitlin Clark effect continues to expand rather than fade.
It is the second highest viewership, which is like average viewership. However, it was the highest peak of any game ever on CBS.
Fans have been watching Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever in record-breaking numbers this season. It started with a preseason exhibition against Brazil that drew 1.3 million viewers, an impressive figure for a game that typically wouldn't attract that level of attention. Then came the regular season opener against the Chicago Sky, which averaged 2.7 million viewers, making it the most-watched WNBA regular season game in 25 years. Shortly after, a matchup with the New York Liberty peaked at 3.3 million viewers. However, everything shifted quickly when she suffered an injury.
And now that Caitlin Clark is injured, the ticket prices for the Fever and Sky game just plummeted to Hades.
Ticket prices for Indiana Fever games dropped sharply by as much as 300% when Caitlin Clark was absent. While Fever fans have still managed to keep TV ratings relatively strong, more on that shortly, the rest of the league has fallen significantly behind. This situation should serve as a major wake-up call for everyone involved, players, coaches, executives, and the league as a whole. Caitlin Clark is expected to generate over $1 billion in revenue for the WNBA this year, highlighting just how crucial she is. In reality, the league's current momentum could be at serious risk if she were sidelined for long. That raises questions about upcoming financial expectations. The projected CBA gains that Angel Reese has mentioned, and the leverage Nafisa Collier believes players hold, may not be as secure as they seem, especially if Clark isn't part of the picture. Despite this, the league often appears to undermine its own progress. Instead of fully embracing the obvious driver behind its growth, it tends to shift the narrative elsewhere. Rather than focusing on the positive momentum, the conversation frequently drifts away from the game itself.
The loudest mics, like I stated, are the ones that's race baited. Not even bringing up the names, but all the people that I'm seeing that are tied within the WNBA media, coaches, all type of things. They are very resentful of Caitlin Clark, and I don't know why. It doesn't make sense when you have somebody that's doing what she's doing for the WNBA.
Only a few games into the season, and there have already been repeated missteps in how Caitlin Clark and her supporters are being treated. The controversy started almost immediately, right after the season opener against the Chicago Sky. Following that game, the league opened an investigation into alleged hate speech, even though it was based on claims that ultimately didn't amount to anything. However, the impact was immediate. Instead of focusing on what should have been a standout debut and a milestone moment for the league, the attention shifted elsewhere. The headlines moved away from the game itself and centered on controversy. Once again, Caitlin Clark and her fans found themselves pulled into a narrative that didn't reflect what actually took place on the court.
You even though it's 100% false, by acknowledging we don't condone hate and not seeing that this was a internet rumor founded of complete bullshit, you're lending credence to this. There was none of that.
From that situation, a new narrative began to take shape. Claims that Indianapolis wasn't a safe environment for players, along with accusations that Caitlin Clark's fan base was hostile. Some people even went as far as suggesting the Wnba All-Star Game should be relocated. Others called for Dave Portnoy to be banned from arenas due to his comments toward Angel Reese. At the same time, the league has remained largely silent about the criticism and negativity directed at Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever, offering no public statements or visible support.
We've gone way out of bounds.
The comments directed at players from the Indiana Fever, especially Caitlin Clark, went well beyond normal basketball criticism. This wasn't just about evaluating her performance or discussing her popularity. The remarks crossed the line, becoming hostile and, at times, even threatening.
The kind of stuff that's being said to them, the stuff that's being said to Kelsey Mitchell, the kind of things that are being said to Natasha Howard are actually wild. People have taken a photo of these women and circled a bullseye on them and have said, "It's on site when I see you." Those are actual threats.
These weren't simply disrespectful remarks. They crossed into the territory of real threats. They were personal and targeted, the kind of attacks you would expect a league, especially one that strongly promotes values like inclusivity and respect, to publicly condemn. However, there was no response. No official statement, no defense, and no visible support. Instead, silence. As the situation escalated, the discourse became even more extreme. At this point, some users on social media have gone as far as accusing Caitlin Clark of using her assistant coach's baby as a prop, highlighting just how far the narrative has drifted.
Caitlin Clark is getting some of the grossest, most morbid comments, racist, hateful. We're talking the cup runneth over with hate. Here, Kathy Engelbert, you're no space for hate. Where are you right now?
At this point, the criticism has reached an extreme. Caitlin Clark is even being targeted over something as simple as holding a baby. That's the level the conversation has fallen to. What started as criticism has now shifted into baseless speculation, yet the league has still remained silent. The negativity directed at Caitlin and her supporters hasn't faded. In fact, it seems to have grown stronger. Despite the overwhelming evidence of her impact, sold-out arenas, soaring viewership, and record-breaking numbers, there continues to be reluctance in fully recognizing her influence. And much of that hesitation appears to come from leadership at the top.
Kathy Engelbert, in this long, drawn-out article, goes on and gives herself credit for why the WNBA has finally entered some type of mainstream conversation.
Kathy Engelbert even authored an article for the Harvard Business Review where she appeared to distribute credit for the league's growth across multiple areas, while giving little recognition to the individual many believe is driving that success. She highlighted contributions from coaches, players, marketing efforts, and front office strategies, ensuring that many groups were acknowledged. However, there was minimal focus on Caitlin Clark and her impact.
To new followers and outside observers, our organization's success might seem overnight and even lucky, prepared by a singularly exceptional group of college players coming into the WNBA. However, we could not have capitalized on those advantages without years of hard work and preparation. Years of hard work and preparation. It might have seemed like it came overnight.
Kathy Engelbert downplayed Caitlin Clark's impact by grouping her with other rookies like Angel Reese and Cameron Brink, even though her games were clearly driving the surge in viewership. Despite her record-breaking achievements and major influence on the league's growth, there remains a reluctance to fully credit her. Critics often shift the conversation to jealousy or even race-based arguments, ignoring her performance and impact. Meanwhile, legends like Lisa Leslie and Candace Parker have emphasized that her success benefits the entire league, bringing more attention, fans, and opportunities for everyone involved.